This is a bookball summary of the book Human Hacking by Christopher Hadnagy. When people don't know how to communicate with others, problems will always arise. Without a clear strategy, misunderstandings can lead to hurt feelings and disappointed egos. It's important to learn how to interact with people in a way that leaves them feeling good. It turns out you can use many of the same psychological principles as hackers and other criminals, but with benevolence and consideration instead. Number 1. Leave a lasting impression on the people you meet. Recently, at London's Heathrow Airport, author Chris Hadnagy was rummaging through his luggage for passports. As he does this, his wife spontaneously compliments the attendant behind the counter about her scarf. The attendant smiles and says thank you. It's important to be aware of the way other people perceive you. You could miss out on a chance at human hacking if you brush it off as not being worth your time. In this scenario, the author sensed an opportunity for social engineering. He took a deep breath and walked up to the desk, waiting to be greeted by a friendly attendant. "I'm content with a coach," he said, as he placed his sleepy wife on his shoulders. As she yawned, he added, "She can sleep in first class, while I stay awake here." The author imagines that this woman usually has to deal with stressed out and grumpy passengers regularly. Today though, she was given a surprise. Her smile suggests that her mood has been significantly improved. The author realised that this combination of events would work in his favour, so he decided to make a request, and was doubly rewarded for it. Number 2. Before you assess others' communication tendencies, you should know your own. Let's say you give your honest opinion to a friend and he doesn't like it. He tells you that you're oversensitive. You're stunned. You were just telling your friend about the situation. You realise that because people communicate differently, there are going to be unspoken rules at times. There are tools and techniques for diagnosing your communication tendencies, including DISC. This popular profiling tool was created by psychologist William Moulton Marston in the 1920s. DISC divides people into 4 distinct types. Dominants are confident and results-oriented. Influencers are personable collaborators. Sincere tend to be calm, friendly types. And conscientious primarily stay organised with facts. To determine which personality type might describe you, answer 2 questions. How do you behave when it comes to interacting with people? And how do you typically communicate in conversations? If you prioritise results and prefer direct communication, you're likely the dominant or influencer type. However, if the social connection and indirect communication style suit you better, then the conscientious or sincere type will be a better fit. Number 3. Create effective pretexts to skew conversations to your advantage. Suppose you get an email from your boss, without any greeting. Then she says, "Call me tomorrow at 3. For the next 24 hours, you worry furiously and can't sleep, thinking that you're going to lose your job. But when you call her the next day as promised and express a concern about the meeting, she changes her mind and was simply talking about a minor presentation issue. Based on the information we have, it seems like she wanted to meet for a different reason. From the start, I think she should have provided her motive for requesting the meeting and not just kept silent. What is missing from her end is a clear pretext, something that would set up this social interaction for success. It's what the author calls the art of the start. Pretexting involves considering other people's needs to create a favourable context for the encounter. Number 4. Building rapport with others and motivating them to do what you want is an art. Every interaction we have takes time and energy. We need to consider how long it will take, and then judge whether or not it's worth our time before we commit. If you're waiting in line for a coffee to go, and the person behind you taps your shoulder, responding will probably seem like a low-risk endeavour. You can assume this interaction will only last until one of you has paid and gotten your drink, at the longest. Now, imagine you're on your way to a meeting when someone stops you in the street. In this scenario, you'll be more likely to avoid the interaction altogether. After all, you have places to be. Be aware that other people will have the same opinion of you, so make sure your behaviour is worth their time. Human connection is powerful. A handshake can release oxytocin, a hormone that researchers link to experiences of trust and generosity. Most of us naturally do this, when talking with neighbours, schmoozing with clients, or having a chat over coffee with the grocer. Time constraints are hard when you don't feel that the other person is being forthcoming with the answer. This can be tough to deal with, especially if meeting strangers, but if you subtly suggest an artificial time limit, it's more likely they'll be happy to talk with you. Number 5. Combine subtle tactics to influence others to do your bidding. As a security expert, the author was tasked with breaking into company security systems to identify vulnerabilities. On a mission to access a company's executive offices, he noticed the receptionist in the lobby was playing a game on her computer. This presented him with an irresistible opportunity for social engineering. The first thing the author did was warn her that he could see what was on her screen. The receptionist shut her game down just at the moment her boss was walking past. Grateful, she mouthed "thank you" to the author. That's when he took his chance to ask her to let him in. When he lied that he was late for a meeting, the receptionist gave him a knowing look, indicating that she knew he was lying. And yet, she hit her buzzer and let him in anyway. As a result of this short encounter, the author was able to hack all the company's data. A powerful tool of influence is using yourself as an authority figure. What better way to eliminate any skepticism with your subject than by showing them your credentials? If you want to convince someone to hire you, use the appropriate vocabulary that is common in the job field. For example, if you're trying to convince a boss to hire you, you might use sophisticated language that would be appropriate to the type of work they do. Influence is a powerful thing. This week, try it out by trying to convince a friend to try something new. Number 6. Get people to give you the information you want without asking. For example, you're on a first date and want to figure out if your date has the same passions as you do. One option is to keep prodding for information, but this can make the date feel suffocating. Another option is to ask hypothetical questions that don't require outright answers. It's a perfect way to find out whether your date wants kids, has a job, and shares your interests without turning the encounter into an interrogation. Imagine if you could get information without having to ask any questions, and still maintain a light-hearted conversation. It's possible with a tool of elicitation, which will allow you to obtain nearly any type of information. All you have to do is use it. Criminals use elicitation techniques to get people to divulge information that they otherwise may keep private. For example, spies build fake social media profiles to connect with unsuspecting people and extract sensitive information like bank details from them. Number 7. Learning how to read and display nonverbal cues can boost communication in your favour. When a friendly dog rolls onto its backside and exposes a soft underbelly for you to scratch, it indicates that the pet trusts you. This cue is known as ventral display, referring to the belly of an animal or a human. Indeed, if a person tilts his hips and belly towards you, this can also indicate openness and comfort. A phenomenon that former FBI investigator Joe Navarro calls ventral fronting. Gaining an understanding of such physical cues equips you with a technique you can immediately employ to improve your social interactions. When you're conversing with people, it's helpful to keep track of whether or not they're feeling comfortable with the situation as you go along. The easiest way to do this is to pay attention to subtle shifts in their body language, also known as nonverbal communication. Number 8. Identify devious manipulation techniques to ensure you avoid them at all costs. Have you ever put a jacket on the seat next to you on the bus to avoid having someone sit there? You might have even put on headphones or started reading just to discourage someone from asking if it's taken. While that may not technically be hacking, it is manipulation. You could try to persuade someone with an argument, but sadly, this kind of manipulation would stray into the territory of unfriendly or even devious behaviour. In other words, manipulating people isn't a very nice thing to do, and it gets you nowhere. Instead of resorting to manipulation and risking pain and suffering, take the higher road. Ask yourself honestly what manipulation tactics you typically use, and how you might replace them with ethical tools like profiling, pretexting, and rapport building to get what you want. Remember, good human hacking is about working together and having each person get what they want in the end. What's your most important key takeaway? Please comment down below and share the video if you like it. Check out these other 2 videos. Thank you, and until next time.